In the golden glow of 1970s California, where suburban lawns stretched under endless sun and neighbors left doors unlocked, a shadow emerged that would shatter the illusion of safety. From 1974 to 1986, a predator prowled the quiet streets of Visalia, Sacramento, and Southern California, leaving behind a trail of devastation that would haunt the state for decades. Known later as the Golden State Killer, this elusive figure began with eerie burglaries, stealing trinkets while scattering lives, before escalating to unthinkable acts that gripped communities in fear. Middle-class homes, once sanctuaries, became stages for meticulously planned intrusions, marked by cut phone lines, knotted shoelaces, and footprints fading into the night. The era's limited forensic tools, fingerprint cards filed by hand, no DNA databases, left police grasping at shadows, while sensational headlines, like one Sacramento Bee's claim of a ghostly prowler, fueled a panic that felt both absurd and all too real. This is the story of a manhunt spanning over 40 years, a case that redefined justice and forced a reckoning with the darkness lurking in plain sight, challenging the very notion of what it means to be human. Welcome to True Crime Vault HQ, where we uncover the truth behind the cases that haunt us. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss a single detail. The Golden State Killer's reign of terror unfolded with a precision that left crime scenes as chilling as they were methodical. From 1974 to 1979, the Visalia ransacker and East Area rapist, later identified as one predator, struck with escalating violence, leaving behind a trail of physical evidence that both baffled and tantalized law enforcement. In Visalia, beginning in April 1974, the burglaries were peculiar in their focus. Homes in middle-class neighborhoods, often near Tulare Avenue, were invaded during early evening hours when residents were away. The intruder targeted small, personal items, single earrings, class rings, framed photos, while ignoring televisions or cash. Crime scenes revealed footprints from size 9 tennis shoes in flower beds, smudged fingerprints on windowsills, often unusable due to gloves, and scattered clothing, as if the intruder delighted in chaos. One Visalia home, burgled in July 1974, had a jewelry box emptied but a $200 watch left untouched, a quirk that led police to initially suspect a juvenile delinquent with a penchant for mischief. The sheer volume, over 120 break-ins by mid-1975, overwhelmed Visalia's small police department, which lacked the resources to patrol every quiet street lined with orange trees. The escalation came on September 11, 1975, in Visalia, when the intruder's crimes turned deadly. Claude Snelling, a 45-year-old journalism professor, awoke to a masked figure attempting to abduct his 16-year-old daughter from their home on West Kauai Avenue. The scene was chaotic. Snelling confronted the intruder in the backyard, where moonlight glinted off a .38 caliber revolver. 2 shots rang out, striking Snelling in the chest, while the daughter, kicked repeatedly in the face, lay nearby. The assailant fled, leaving behind a ski mask and footprints leading to a canal. The crime scene yielded bullet casings and a partial shoe print, but no fingerprints, frustrating investigators. Visalia police, accustomed to petty theft, scrambled to process the murder, their evidence lockers filling with plaster casts and bagged items that offered no clear suspect. The case's brutality shocked the town, with local papers reporting a crazed gunman, a headline that, while sensational, paled against the reality of a killer refining his craft. June 1976, the predator surfaced in Sacramento County, 200 miles north, as the East Area rapist. The first attack, in Rancho Cordova, left a crime scene that would become a grim template. A woman in her 20s was awakened at 2 a.m. by a flashlight beam, the intruder wearing a ski mask and gloves, his voice a harsh whisper. He bound her wrists with shoelaces, cut from her own curtains, and assaulted her for hours, pausing to eat food from her kitchen. The scene revealed meticulous planning. Phone lines were severed, a knife left on the nightstand, and dishes stacked on a nearby table to alert the intruder to movement. Footprints outside, size 9, matched those in Visalia, though the connection wasn't made at the time. Over the next 3 years, Sacramento saw 38 similar attacks, with crime scenes showing eerie consistency. Pry marks on sliding glass doors, trampled grass in backyards, and stolen trinkets like lockets or coins. In one 1977 attack in Carmichael, the intruder left a knotted length of twine, pre-cut, suggesting premeditation. Forensic reports noted semen at some scenes, but DNA technology was non-existent, rendering it useless beyond confirming the assailants. Blood type as A positive. Police responses were swift but limited. Sacramento County Sheriff's Department increased patrols in East Side neighborhoods, focusing on areas near American River bike paths, where the assailant often fled. Deputies found tire tracks near some homes, suggesting a vehicle, but models varied. Chevys, Fords, even a motorcycle in one case. Composite sketches, based on victims' descriptions of a 5 feet 9 inches, athletic white male, were circulated, but the ski mask obscured details, and witnesses often saw only a silhouette against porch lights. Early theories pointed to a transient or military veteran, given the killer's physical agility and apparent knowledge of police tactics. One misstep, later noted with irony, was a 1976 Sacramento Bee article suggesting the rapist was a lonely drifter. A theory so off-base it became a running joke among detectives years later when the true culprit's suburban life emerged. Community reactions transformed Sacramento's suburbs. Neighborhood watches formed, with residents patrolling in pickup trucks armed with flashlights and baseball bats. Hardware stores sold out of deadbolts, and gun sales spiked, with one Sacramento shop reporting a 30% increase in 1977. Victims' homes became local landmarks of fear, their addresses whispered at PDA meetings. In Rancho Cordova, a 1977 town, hall drew 500 residents, some proposing absurd theories, like one local's claim that the rapist was drawn to a cursed Sacramento suburb due to its proximity to a freeway, a notion that briefly fueled coffee shop gossip. The fear was palpable. Children were kept indoors after dusk, and women carried mace, a stark contrast to the open-door culture of the early 1970s. By 1979, when the assailant began targeting couples in Concord and San Jose, the Bay Area joined. Sacramento in a state of heightened vigilance, with police logs noting a surge in false alarms from jittery residents mistaking every creak for an intruder. The crime spree, now spanning multiple counties, left law enforcement grasping at straws. Their evidence bags filled with shoelaces and ski masks, but no clear path to a suspect. As the Golden State Killer's crimes escalated, the investigation from 1979 to 2018 became a labyrinth of dead ends, breakthroughs, and dogged persistence, marked by evolving evidence and shifting theories. By 1979, the predator, now active in Southern California, left a trail of murders that baffled local police. On December 30th, 1979, in Goleta, Deborah Manning and Robert Offerman were found dead in their condo, shot with a .38 caliber revolver. The crime scene revealed twine bindings, a ransacked jewelry box, and a turkey carcass from the fridge, half-eaten, on the counter, a detail that underscored the killer's eerie comfort in his victims' homes. Forensic reports noted semen, but without DNA technology, it was cataloged and shelved. Similar scenes followed. In March 1980, Lyman and Charlene Smith were bludgeoned in their Ventura home, Charlene bound and raped, with blood spatter arcing across silk bed sheets. The couple's 12-year-old son discovered the bodies, a grim detail that haunted local news. Evidence piled up, bullet casings, shoe prints, fibers from a navy blue ski mask, but no fingerprints, as the killer wore gloves. Investigative challenges mounted. Jurisdictions operated in silos, with Santa Barbara, Ventura, and Sacramento counties initially failing to connect their cases. The assailant's mobility, striking from Walnut Creek to Irvine, suggested a deep knowledge of California's highways, frustrating efforts to pin him to one region. Early suspects, like Brett Glasby, a Goleta local with a criminal record, consumed resources but were cleared by alibis. A 1980 lead involving a stolen bicycle near a crime scene led to a stakeout of a pawn shop, only for deputies to discover it was a teenager's prank. A misstep later chuckled over in precinct break rooms as the Great Bicycle Caper. By 1981, the murders paused, resuming with the 1986 killing of Janelle Cruz in Irvine, where the victim was bludgeoned, leaving blood-soaked carpet and a broken window. The hiatus baffled investigators, who wondered if the killer had died or been incarcerated. A chilling new form of evidence emerged: taunting phone calls. Starting in 1977, Sacramento victims reported calls from a whispering voice, some saying, "I'm going to kill you," others simply heavy breathing. One victim, attacked in 1976, received a call in 2001, 25 years later, with the same voice, suggesting the killer remained active long after his last known crime. Phone records were traced, but payphones or unlisted numbers yielded no leads. The calls, recorded on reel-to-reel tapes, became a haunting artifact, their distorted whispers played at police briefings. In 2001, a forensic breakthrough linked the cases. DNA from Sacramento rape kits matched samples from Southern California murders, confirming the East Area rapist and original Night Stalker were one predator. This unified the investigation but highlighted its stagnation, as the DNA matched no one in the FBI's Cody's database, a system still in its infancy. The investigation gained public attention through crime writer Michelle McNamara, who coined Golden State Killer in a 2013 Los Angeles Magazine article. Her work, later expanded in I'll Be Gone in the Dark, published posthumously in 2018, synthesized police reports and victim accounts, drawing a national spotlight. McNamara's evocative name replaced clunky monikers like EAR/ONS, though. One tabloid's claim of a satanic killer sparked eye rolls among detectives, who saw it as a desperate grab for headlines. Public interest surged, with online forums like Reddit buzzing with amateur sleuths analyzing crime scene photos. In 2016, the FBI reignited the case, offering a $50,000 reward and releasing composite sketches and call recordings at a Sacramento press conference. The reward drew tips, over 1,000 in 2016 alone, but most were dead ends, including one caller insisting the killer was a demon-possessed drifter, a theory that briefly amused overworked detectives. Investigators explored new forensic avenues. By 2010, DNA profiles from crime scenes showed a male with Northern European ancestry, but genealogical databases were not yet viable for law enforcement. Behavioral profiles, 9 in total, were commissioned, predicting a white male, 25 to 35, during the crimes, possibly with law enforcement or military experience due to his tactical precision. One profile suggested he lived near Sacramento, a detail later proven correct, but too vague to narrow suspects. The investigation scale, spanning 12 counties, hundreds of evidence items, and thousands of tips, strained resources. A 1980s focus on a suspect with a German accent, based on a victim's description, led to surveillance of an innocent immigrant, a costly detour later dubbed the Sacramento Schnitzel fiasco in police lore. By 2017, hope rested on emerging DNA technology, setting the stage for a breakthrough that would redefine forensic science. On April 24, 2018, the decades-long manhunt for the Golden State Killer culminated in a quiet Citrus Heights cul-de-sac, where 72-year-old Joseph James DeAngelo was arrested outside his modest ranch-style home. The arrest unveiled two seismic twists that reshaped the case's narrative. First, DeAngelo's identity defied every stereotype. A former police officer, married father of 3, and doting grandfather, he had lived a seemingly ordinary life, mowing his lawn and fishing with neighbors, not the reclusive loner investigators envisioned. Second, his capture was enabled by a revolutionary forensic tool, genetic genealogy, using the public database GEDmatch to match crime scene DNA to distant relatives. The arrest scene was unremarkable. DeAngelo, in a gray t-shirt, stood handcuffed. As FBI agents loaded evidence bags with a tissue from his trash and a swab from his car's door handle, both later confirmed to match DNA from 1970s rape kits and 1980s murder scenes, the investigative breakthrough began in December 2017. When Detective Paul Holes and FBI lawyer Steve Kramer uploaded a crime scene DNA profile to GEDmatch, a site where users voluntarily share genetic data to trace ancestry. The profile, derived from a Ventura County rape kit, identified 10 to 20 distant relatives with shared great-great-great-grandparents. Genealogist Barbara Ravenner built a sprawling family tree, narrowing suspects to 2 men. One was ruled out by a relative's DNA. DeAngelo emerged as the prime candidate. In April 2018, under surveillance, investigators collected his DNA surreptitiously. A tissue from his curbside garbage and a swab from his car door handle, parked outside a Hobby Lobby. Both matched crime scene samples with near-perfect certainty. A forensic triumph that linked DeAngelo to 8 murders in Goleta, Ventura, Dana Point, and Irvine, plus 3 others in Rancho Cordova and Visalia by modus operandi. The evidence, stored for decades in climate-controlled vaults, included semen from rape kits and blood from murder scenes, preserved despite 1970s technological limits. Legal proceedings began swiftly. On April 25, 2018, DeAngelo was charged with 8 counts of first-degree murder, later expanded to 13 murders and 13 kidnapping to commit robbery counts, as California's statute of limitations barred rape charges for pre-2017 crimes. The case consolidated evidence from 6 counties, with prosecutors presenting DNA matches, shoe prints, and twine bindings consistent across decades. DeAngelo, frail and wheelchair-bound in court, faced a packed Sacramento County courtroom, converted from a California State University ballroom to accommodate 150 attendees during COVID-19 restrictions. On March 4, 2020, he offered a plea deal to avoid the death penalty, initially rejected. On June 29, 2020, he pleaded guilty to 26 counts, admitting to 161 uncharged crimes, including 50 rapes, in exchange for 11 consecutive life sentences without parole. The plea, finalized on August 21, 2020, required him to register as a sex offender and pay restitution. DeAngelo's apology was brief. After 3 days of victim impact statements, he stood, unmasked, and said he was truly sorry to those he hurt, a statement met with mixed reactions, some victims finding it hollow given his decades of silence. Courtroom arguments centered on the ethics of genetic genealogy. Prosecutors hailed GED-Match as a game-changer, noting it had identified over 150 suspects in cold cases since 2018. Defense attorneys questioned the legality of using consumer databases, arguing it violated privacy for relatives who never consented to police searches. The debate spilled into public discourse, with Maryland considering legislation to restrict such methods and companies like Ancestry.com resisting law enforcement access. One courtroom spectator, handing out flyers claiming the DNA match was an alien conspiracy, provided a brief, absurd distraction quickly dismissed by deputies but whispered about in local bars. The trial's evidence was airtight. DNA from a 1978 Rancho Cordova rape matched a 1980 Ventura murder, and DeAngelo's car door sample sealed his guilt. Chain of custody issues raised when Orange County investigators smuggled evidence to a true crime author in 2016 were mitigated by the plea, avoiding a trial where such lapses might have mattered to DeAngelo's past as a police officer from 1973 to 1979, first in Exeter and then Auburn, added a chilling layer. He was fired in 1979 for shoplifting dog repellent and a hammer, items later linked to his crime spree tactics. His suburban life, raising daughters, hosting barbecues, clashed with his nocturnal terror, forcing investigators to rethink serial killer profiles. Neighbors recalled his temper, one citing a 2017 rant about a barking dog, threatening to deliver a load of death, a phrase eerily reminiscent of his taunting calls. The case's twists, his normalcy and forensic genealogy's role, sparked awe and unease. As a man who blended into suburbia had evaded justice for 40 years, his capture hinging on a technology unimaginable during his crimes. The sentencing of Joseph James DeAngelo on August 21, 2020, marked the end of a legal saga but opened a new chapter of reflection and unresolved questions. Transferred to North Kern State Prison in November 2020, DeAngelo was moved by February 2025 to California State Prison, Corcoran, where he remains in protective custody, a necessity given his notoriety and frail health at 79. Prison records describe a solitary existence, housed in a single cell with reinforced bars. He receives medical checks for age-related ailments, his days punctuated by the clank of steel doors and the hum of fluorescent lights. Guards note his compliance, a stark contrast to the predator who once slipped through moonlit backyards. Yet, his confinement offers little closure for a case that reshaped California's psyche, leaving communities to heal and society to grapple with the implications of his capture. Community healing took root in Sacramento and beyond. Victims and survivors, many silent for decades, found platforms to share their resilience. Jane Carson Sandler, raped in 1976, founded a Facebook group for sexual assault survivors, growing to over 300 members by 2020. Sacramento held vigils, with one 2021 event at a Rancho Cordova park drawing hundreds, where candles flickered against a backdrop of oak trees, mirroring the neighborhoods once stalked. Advocacy grew. Survivors like Gay Hardwick, attacked in 1978, spoke at 2022 California legislative hearings, pushing for expanded DNA databases to prevent future cold cases. These efforts bore fruit, with California allocating $10 million in 2023 for rape kit backlogs, a direct response to the case's exposure of forensic delays. Yet, healing was uneven. Some victims, like Elizabeth Hupp, daughter of murdered Claude Snelling, described recurring nightmares, their trauma etched in the quiet of their homes. The case's societal impact was profound, particularly the use of genetic genealogy. GEDmatch's role in DeAngelo's arrest sparked a privacy debate that persists into 2025. By 2020, major genealogy companies like Family Tree DNA tightened access, requiring users to opt in for law enforcement searches, while Ancestry.com fought court orders to protect client data. Public sentiment split. A 2021 Sacramento Bee poll showed 60% supported forensic genealogy for violent crimes, but 45% worried about privacy erosion. Legal scholars argued the Fourth Amendment's boundaries, with cases pending in California. Courts by 2025 to define police access to consumer DNA. Social media buzzed with theories, some absurdly claiming a secret police cover-up to protect DeAngelo's law enforcement ties, a notion dismissed but persistent in online forums, providing a wry reminder of the case's ability to spawn conspiracies. Unresolved questions linger. The statute of limitations barred charges for over 50 rapes, leaving victims without full justice. Investigators suspect additional crimes, burglaries in Modesto, prowling in Stockton, based on similar shoe prints and stolen trinkets, but no charges were filed. DeAngelo's silence post-plea offers no insight into his motives or potential earlier crimes, like the 1973 Cordova cat burglar spree, which shared his tactics. His time as a police officer raises haunting questions. Did he use radio scanners to evade capture, as some reports suggest? The case's scale, 161 admitted crimes across 12 counties, suggests a darkness that may never be fully mapped. Its impact endures. Forensic genealogy has solved over 200 cold cases since 2018, but each success fuels debates over privacy versus justice. The Golden State Killer case, with its blend of human cruelty and technological triumph, forces a reckoning with the fragility of safety and the ethical cost of catching a monster, leaving California and the nation to question where the line between security and freedom lies.